Hi guys, welcome to our first Impact and Influence for 2022. Today I'm joined by the gorgeous Virginia from Resolver. How are you, Virginia?
I'm very well, Kylie. How are you?
I'm well. I thought it was timely that we start the new year with asking an expert about what it's like out there in the recruitment game and how things have changed off the back of yet another crazy year with the pandemic and what you're seeing out there in the marketplace at the moment. So I guess before we start, how long have you had Resolver?
I started Resolver 2006, so it's that makes 16 years this year. Long time.
Where does time go?
I don't know. Scary. Very scary.
And I think what I love about working with you or have worked with you in the past is the fact that you know real estate. You were in real estate prior to Resolver. For those that don't know you or have been under a rock, where were you prior, or what was sort of your real estate experience? Resi, commercial?
Resi. So started off my first job, like many of us do, 16 years old, reception desk, local office. Then moved my way up into kind of a sales support role, then moved up into a property manager role, then a department head role. I worked here, I worked in London. So my last two big roles were Colliers, where I spent about 3 years, PM and BDM, and then went across to LJ Hooker, Mossman Neutral Bay. Was my last gig before real estate.
Yeah,
before recruitment, real estate recruitment.
Yeah, amazing operations too. Hey, Virginia, how have you seen things evolve and change, like not just in the last 12 or 18 months, but, what's the outlook been since you've started the business, and how have you seen it change?
I think the talent pool has got smaller and smaller each year. So I think the talent pool was a lot bigger. When I got into real estate, probably the same as you, from school, it was the thing to do. If you didn't want to go and study and you're a good talker and you wanted to work hard, you could earn a lot of money. And I think as time's gone on, even though it's a great industry, in some ways it's become a little bit less sexy to kids leaving school, which I think has shrunk the talent pool. Also now, a lot of principals just don't want to look at training. And I think that the last 2 years, I think, has really taught us that there have been some incredible people who have lost jobs coming from hospitality and hotels, restaurants, bars, and we have needed to utilize that talent and grab it because they're customer service focused. They are not afraid of weekend work. They work shift work, so they're actually quite good coming in and just working normal office hours. Great people skills. Ever tried throwing someone drunk out of a bar at 2 a.m? They could negotiate with terrorists. So I think what a lot of principals have failed to realise is to embrace skill sets from other industries. But COVID's taught us a little bit of that now, and I've seen some really good people come into the industry from those sectors that are doing really well.
Yeah, I think definitely. And look, I've been doing this for a long time as well. I don't think I've ever seen a talent pool so short as what it is now. And I think a lot of those things that you've said have driven it. But have you also found that people have just been a little bit frightened to make the move from a secure job that they've been at in a while, if they've still got their job, into another industry, or just moving period from maybe one real estate office to another?
No, people are moving. People are always going to have a reason to move. I think during the first lockdown, people were really scared. What were we, March 2020, April 2020? None of us in our lifetime had ever gone through this, so no one was prepared to move or do anything for a little while. I think the last lockdown, and I think it'll be interesting to see how we handle this one as well, is flexibility has become really big. Work from home options have become really big. And I think unless people are prepared to embrace that, then you're really going to get left behind in what is already a really small pool of people. So people are moving for the right reason for them. And it's not always necessarily about money now. So 2 days a week, they might want to work from home. I've got some property managers that would prefer to work from when they drop their kids at school and then break between 3 and 6, and then they'd love to work again till 8 o'clock at night, which I think is a good idea because you can get hold of a lot of your tenants and a lot of your landlords after hours as well. People are frightened still of a little bit of change. And I think as an industry, to keep good talent in it, we need to offer that flexibility and need to look at the bigger picture rather than just a bum on a seat between 8:30 and 5:30.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've had a lot of clients call me into meetings. Even I was in some recruitment meetings this morning, just as a second opinion, or see what I thought. And I think the first question they ask is there flexibility to work from home?
Yeah.
So that remote situation is incredibly important. What are you seeing out there? Is there a particular functionality within a real estate office or industry that you're seeing is in more demand?
Still property management, without a doubt. Property management is the number one. Sales associates and assistants as well. I think a lot of people, what's come back this year is people are now looking to groom those next sales agents coming through the business as well. So more associates coming through to keep building businesses. A lot of principals made a lot of money last year, but continued to run a little bit lean because they just didn't know what 2022 was going to look like. A lot of them are still really tired. So I think now principals are looking at, you know, that next succession to bringing associates in and train them up as agents. But I think the number one still is property management, and it's a real worry for the industry, the lack of property managers in the industry. We lost, I think the AFR said 30% first lockdown, and I wouldn't be surprised if we lost another 20% second lockdown.
Yeah, it was really, I know it was really hard for everybody. I think property management's been particularly hard, but I've seen a big turnover in ops. So, you know, people have had to keep COVID safe policies, you know, up to speed, be the counsellor for the team, make sure that the culture and the connection is still there for teams working from home as well. So I think we're in for some big changes. I really do. What else are you seeing? What else are people asking for when they're looking to move, or because it's so competitive? What are you seeing as deal breakers?
Flexibility is definitely number one. Training and progression. People want to still have that training, and I think during the last year or two, some of that training has gone by the wayside because people have just been under the pump. Principals and ops have been busy, as you said, with the constant changing landscape of what the rules are, what the rules aren't. And some people are just looking to temp now as well. They just want to go in and do a job for a while. People want more flexibility to work remotely, and a lot of people want more flexibility overall, where 4 days a week might work for some. So flexibility, still salary. Some people took pay cuts, didn't get rewarded with when salaries went back up. A lot of people are looking for support, and I think COVID, a lot of them taught that there was a real lack of support. So I had someone before Christmas ring me and tell me that they had a bunch of disgruntled property managers and they wanted to turn them over in the new year. And I just said to them, when was the last time they had a holiday? They said, at the same time as us, April.
Yeah, like, and I think that's really important. And it talks to a little piece that I put online probably 24 hours ago about setting up at the beginning of your year foundation piece, not just for yourself, but your team. Like, when's everyone taking leave? And making sure that we've got those micro moments. Have you seen, everyone's talking about migration and everyone's leaving Sydney and everyone's going to regional areas or moving to Queensland. Are you seeing any of that?
A little bit. I've had a few people from Melbourne. I'm seeing a little bit of it. So a little bit came up from Melbourne. Some of it's going to Queensland. I think the bulk of people that maybe aren't business owners or in senior level roles don't necessarily want to work regionally. You know, in real estate, I think a lot of our workforce is still relatively young, that 20 to 40 age bracket, who still want to be around friends, still want to be around the city. So I'm not noticing that as much. I'm noticing it with more senior people and people in their 50s that are now wanting to have that flexibility with a commute and only coming to the city a couple of days a week. For admin purposes, those people are really employable though, because companies now have set up to work remotely. But I'd have to say people that are still trying to really forge a career and want a long-term career and want growth are probably not migrating out of the city yet. There's still a lot of people around.
And speed, how important, like, do you move super quickly? Can you take your time? What are candidates looking for? And when they're shopping for a new job, what are you seeing as far as duration that they shop for?
Both. So for a lot of people, it's really about it's got to be the complete piece, I think, for a lot of people now. And people are getting a bit cluey on being sold the dream and not being delivered. So it depends. I think if you find a really good candidate for your business that you think fits well, that can do the job and that you can see a future within your business, don't muck around, because there's 3 jobs for every 1 person at the moment in the industry. So if you see someone, don't muck around on it. But then sometimes candidates get spooked going, whoa, that was way too quick as well. So there's no hard and fast rule, I think, across it at the moment. But as a business owner, if you see something that you like, you want to grab it. But make sure you've grabbed it properly. It's referenced and, you know, the person's been referenced properly. You've done your background checks, you've checked certificates, all that sort of stuff. And then jump quickly once you know. But I would say don't don't think about it, wait for 3 people to compare, because you're just not going to find it and you're going to lose out.
So interesting. I know in sales, like 10 years ago, we all went and did an appraisal, went back, and then, two-prong approach. Has that changed for recruitment now? You're recruiting off the back of first round interviews?
A lot of the time, yes. Yeah. Depending on the level of role as well. For an admin role or a PM role, even kind of up to that 80 grand mark, I would say definitely first interviews. The more senior the role gets, obviously, I always recommend, if you can, do 2, even if it's just a phone interview before you offer again after a face-to-face. I think you need to have those 2 touch points, but you can't muck around though either.
No, absolutely. And I think, look, I was usually quite strategic if I had time around recruitment, and again, for the right role, would invest in, some psychometric testing, personality profiling, whatever you want to call it. Do you have time to do that now with recruitment? Is there still time for that?
I would say there is sometimes, again, on the seniority of the role. But I think if you're wanting to do your tier 80K property manager and admin, I don't think you necessarily have time, because there's just not that many of them around. So I think if you're doing your due diligence straight away and you're having your reference check done, we send a candidate and we've reference checked them, or we've got those calls out already. So you're getting that whole package. But I think, act as quickly as you can, but make sure you do your due diligence. But I don't think you've necessarily got time to do psychometric testing.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because particularly when you've got a property manager that's looking after one of your greatest assets and has a long-term relationship, you would think that you might have time, or at least to be able to do that psychometric testing for property managers would be critical.
It's 24 hours to turn around though, right? And sometimes if they're out interviewing at 3 places, they'll get 3 offers. So
and you know what? Is there anyone that you know of that does psychometric testing that can get you the results back instantaneous rather than
we use DISC in our office, because DISC is pretty much computer generated from everything that's done. I don't know any other psychometric that's turned over in 24 hours. I just don't.
Because there's a lot of the other ones, I won't say them in case I get sued, but there's a lot of the other ones that, yes, it's overnight, and then you've got to wait for the report to come back the next day. So speed and time, flexibility. Where are employers going wrong with recruitment?
Not being prepared. So there's nothing worse than when we've briefed a client, they've been given a CV, and then they run in, they haven't read the CV, they're taking phone calls throughout the interview. You'd be amazed the amount of them that do it. Just a sec, I'm waiting for this call. If you're the vendor, you're not going to do that. So I think a lot of it, people still go wrong by just not thinking the interview process through. Like, it's important. You're bringing someone into your business. This is like a short-term marriage, even a long-term for longer term than some marriages out there. But just not giving it the time that it deserves. Recruitment, your office is only as good as the people that are in it. You can be a great leader, but if you don't have people underneath you, or you're a great business owner, but if you don't have people underneath you doing the job, your business is going to fail. So just making the time is just the number one thing. Read the CV. Have questions prepared, don't fumble, and give them the time that they need. And then also, don't rush the process. So make sure you reference check someone. It's a pretty simple thing to do. We're a small industry and someone generally knows someone. So pick up the phone. We're amazed when we go into clean up pieces afterwards where they're like, oh yeah, I put them on, but I didn't have time to do references. Well, number one, just do a reference. And if someone says to you, read between the lines, I'm not doing it. Sorry?
Yeah, I thought it's like listing a house without doing a CMA, really.
100%. So it's just people stuff up the little things, and it's the little things that can go long term. So just give them the time, be prepared, do your follow up. It's no different to a listing. And then be prepared when they start too. Don't just shove them in there. Sorry, I haven't had time to do this and that. Set them up for success when they start too.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other workshop, the whole onboarding process. It's appalling. Some people do it very, very well, but I think it certainly needs a lot of work. But yeah, I often say, Virginia, pitching for people is like pitching for property.
Totally. It's exactly the same.
Where's the pre-list? Where's the confirmation of the agenda of what's important to them? The follow-up, having your tools and showing them what's in your listing presentation. Yeah, it's very interesting. What have you seen as the best recruitment tool, or the best closer, or something that an office has done that has really impressed a candidate?
Being prepared. Someone loves it when they walk in. I'm here to see Kylie. Kylie comes out. Hi, great to meet you. I've read your CV. You can sit down and talk to them about them before they talk to you about them. And I think where people come really impressed is when you let them talk, because real estate agents have a big tendency just to talk about themselves and to sell themselves, because that's obviously what you're doing a lot of the time in the listing. People come out feeling amazed when it's been a well-structured interview, it's been well thought out. They've looked at this person and how they would fit in this role. There's a job description for the role. You'd be amazed how many people don't have any job descriptions and make it up as they go along. So the best interviews where people walk out and say, wow, I want to work there, is when everything is methodically done. From the time they walk in the door, they're interviewed, the job description, who they'd be working with, a tour around the office, and then we'll come back to you. A lot of the time they come out going, wow, that was a good interview.
It's actually funny that just that 1% of getting back to people, the amount of people that you know, Anna Egri from Reef, Anna and I used to obviously work together in a previous life, and just following people up afterwards and keeping them on the database and saying, thanks for your time, it didn't work this time because of X, Y, and Z. And then the next time you pick up the conversation, they remember that 1%er. But I think it's
little things, right? It's little things, and it's the little things that are just common sense that make people think, wow.
Absolutely. And I think, guys, even if it's the interview's gone really well, do you have any problems, Virginia, asking the candidates? So just say you sent me a property manager today or an admin, and I said, Virginia, look, it went really well. I suspect I'm in competition with A, B, and C. They said they're interviewing with them as well. I would like to send them a thank you gift. Could you please get their details and we can send something to their home address if the candidate's okay with it?
Unheard of.
Right. Little things, right? The 1% to stay in their mind is incredibly important. So Virginia, you've been doing this for a long time, and you've got a big team now. Tell us a little bit about your business.
My business, so we've all come from real estate and property backgrounds. We've been going a really long time. We do things correctly, which I think is the bane of my existence on how things are done. It's like sloppy agents as well. So we're very systemized in how we recruit. We've all worked in the industry, so we understand it. And I think that's paramount sometimes to people getting recruitment in real estate. Recruitment's a very different industry. Real estate's a different industry. It's niche. There's a certain little click to it. And I think unless you've worked in it, you really don't understand what makes a person work in that environment. And I think it's hard to give that to somebody that's not worked in it. And just, we're very diligent. We do our reference checking. We work as a partner to you rather than just somebody that's going to put a bum on a seat. For us, it's about a long-term, it's a long-term relationship. And a lot of clients I've had since I started my business back in 2006, and I've watched them grow from little teams to really big teams. And that's exciting. So I think for us, we are not the fastest. And I would have to say, I think that's a good thing, because we actually make sure we go out and we infiltrate the market. But if you want something done in recruitment, when we're talking about reference checking and making sure somebody is really who they say they are, then I think that's probably our point of difference.
Yeah, and I know from dealing with you in years gone by, you're really good at matching. Like, you seem to work your database really well. Is that something you spend a lot of time on?
Absolutely, and making sure our database is up to date. It's almost like a matchmaker. It's got to work for the client and it's got to work for the candidate. And unless the two of them are going to work well together, it's not going to work. So yeah, it's understanding. We take the time to understand our clients really well. We take the time to meet our candidates and understand our candidates really well. And then you take the opportunity to match them.
Tell you what, there's just so many similarities here with sales, isn't there? We're talking about the pitch, we're talking about preparation, we're talking about the matching and cleaning your data.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's no different, except we're marketing a person and you're marketing a property.
What best advice? So this was, we actually haven't prepared for this, guys, at all. I've literally run in late from a meeting, and good old Virginia's been sitting here online, so apologies. But sometimes I think, like a listing presentation, the best conversations are the ones just had face-to-face with a pen. So what's the best advice that you can give high-performance sales agents that run teams, or principals or department heads that recruit, that are sitting here looking down the barrel of having to either grow their team or replace people in 2022?
What advice would I give them? You've put me on the spot here, isn't it? I would say don't constantly look for the same stuff that is always around. Take the time to think outside the box. think long term where you can start someone and how quickly you can grow someone to where you want them to be. I know everybody wants a sales agent that can write $1 million straight away, but what about an associate that can work your database that in 12 months time can do this, do that, do this? So I'd say think about what the short-term, medium and long-term goals are for each individual that you want to recruit, and then go backwards, you know. And I think always be recruiting. So, you know, if you meet someone in a coffee shop that blows your mind away, that's great with serving and great with people skills and, you know, is sharp, and ask them if they want to come and meet you for a coffee about a job. Like, don't be proud. Everyone was someone else before they were a real estate agent, right? So most of the time anyway. So I think just always be recruiting. Think outside the box. Just because someone is not 90% of what you're looking for, if they're 80% there with really strong traits, I think look at that as well. And I think take a gamble sometimes on what's not the norm either, because a lot of the time you're going to pay premium for the norm because they've got the experience and they've been around for a really long time. But this industry needs fresh blood, and it's the only way that the industry is going to keep growing and keep evolving. And so I think rather than rehashing the same people all the time, you know, there's some great people out there, but there's also some great people that need jobs.
Absolutely.
And need careers. And don't wipe out single mums
yes.
either. Or because I think a single mum or a single parent, I shouldn't say mum these days, but, you know, a single parent people worry about with school holidays and et cetera, but push comes to shove on the hours that need to be there, they make it work because they need that job and they need that career. So don't just pigeonhole people thinking why it's not going to work. Think about why it could work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, was it 67% or something now is the divorce rate? It's terrible. But, you know, single parents, so I'm not saying single mums, single dads or single mums.
Single parents, yeah. We've got to be politically correct.
Single stuff to do. So just, you know, want to get in and get it done. But it's like anything, it's attitude. It doesn't matter what age you are or if you're single parent or married parent. Right attitude, does that still trump everything else, Virginia?
I absolutely think it does. I think it does. And don't write off people that are a little bit older as well, because given what's happened with COVID and things over the last few years, I know my mum's generation in their 60s have a lot of life experience and a lot of skills to be able to give back. And if I hear one more time they're too old, I think it's just wrong.
The number one complaint I get from a lot of the sales agents that I coach is, oh, you know, the younger ones haven't got good attention to detail. And I'm like, well, maybe it's the pace at which you're moving or you haven't explained yourself. But one thing I have found about, and I'm not generalizing here, so don't go to town on comments, guys, on social, but, you know, our mum's age groups have got great attention to detail because a lot of them went to secretarial school, they were trained in shorthand, they've got that great attention to detail, and they've got life skills. They've bought and sold property.
They're reliable. They need the money. They want to do a job, but they are not interested in partying on a Saturday night and not coming on a Monday. They're reliable. They're really reliable.
And Virginia, can I ask you, so something that I've been working with a few clients on, I just want to see how prevalent it is out in the industry, is there's a lot of digital pre-listing kits, right? When you're going for property and you send it to the client prior or just after. I've got a few clients that we've introduced that for recruitment, so we can see what people have opened, what they've read, but a great tool to be able to text to someone after your interview or before. Are you seeing a lot of that in the market?
I have to be honest, no.
Okay, so that would be my handy hint, guys, for anyone listening, is to put together, you know, your core pillars around your values, your training and coaching that Virginia's been talking about, what's career progression, what's admin support like, your innovation, all those sort of things that we know attract and retain talent, is condensing that into a pre-list or a listing presentation kit like you would for property, and making sure that your candidate's getting it on text and or email or hard copy if that's what they prefer, because we should be asking.
That's great. Yeah, I love
it. Setting that prior. It's a great way to capture data. And then the other thing I'd like to probably add is, guys, don't forget about, again, it's like going canvassing or prospecting for property. Why are we going out and knocking on new doors when we're not even working the filing cabinet we've got in the office being your existing database? So when people are looking for talent, is let's make sure it's in our weekly, you know, OFI ebook that we put out, that we've got it on display, it opens, that it's in your database. I mean, how many clients have we sold before that are looking for new jobs, have got kids, family or whatever that are moving? So Virginia, in closing, is there anything that you'd like to finish on today or encourage talent when they're out there looking to move?
For talent looking to move, that we're seeing a lot of people that just keep moving sporadically because they don't explore opportunities sometimes enough. So I think, I know it's fast, but if you're looking for a new job, make sure it's the right job, you know, because we don't want to work with people that are jump hopping every 6 to 12 months, because people won't pay our fee if they do it. And it just looks bad. And I just don't think you're going to get the experience that you are going to have. So I think when you are going for a new job, make sure that you've got the list of, you know, what's important to you, what your long-term needs are, and how you're going to work with this business. But also do research on the business. It's not hard to Google, it's not hard to ask around. And a lot of the time when you promise the world and it seems too good to be true, it sometimes just is. So make sure, as much as we say for the clients to explore the candidates, it's really up to the candidates to explore the clients as well.
And is traditional, like, it's been a long time since I've, you know, gone looking for a job. Depending on what happens with COVID, that might change. But I think, are people still asking for traditional CVs, or are they career overviews, or what are they looking for?
No, I think we still like a full snapshot of a CV, just to see where people have been. No, I think people still need to do, it doesn't need to be a long CV. It only needs to kind of be 3 pages of what you've done and maybe any awards and things that you've won as well. And the rule number 1, don't lie. Don't lie, because I can Google and find out where you've worked on the internet for the last 10 years. And if you've left 3 jobs off, if I'm doing it, a prospective client's going to do it as well. So even if it is just for a month, you need to put it on there with your reason why it was only a month. But be transparent, because it's so easy to search on you now. So make sure that your CV matches up with the internet.
It's always a red flag, right?
Yep.
Virginia, so many words of wisdom, guys. I'd encourage you, if you haven't been to the Resolver website, to have a look and follow them on their social. They give away lots of handy hints and free information for both employer and employee. So Virginia, look, thanks so much for your time today. We're really, really grateful. And I know everybody listening would have definitely had some wonderful takeaways. So thanks so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks, Kylie.
See you later.
Bye.